Museums are more than places we visit on a field trip. Across the country, museums protect our shared history, care for wildlife and collections, strengthen local economies, support job training, and spark curiosity in people of all ages. Right now, you can help make sure museums stay strong for future generations. Museum Advocacy Day is a national moment when people contact Congress to ask for continued support for museums and the federal agencies that fund them. Learn how to take action at aam-us.org and tell your representatives that museums matter to education, to communities, to the economy, and to our democracy.
Hello and welcome to Geek Warning, the cycling tech-focused podcast from Escape Collective. I'm Dave Rome, and joining me this week, Suvi Lovenin. Good to have you back.
Hello.
And in addition to Suvi, we've got Alex Hunt. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm good. I'm back on the mountain bike officially. So,
congratulations!
Life is full of colour once more.
Very nice. Does that mean the shoulder is one piece again?
The shoulder is one piece for riding. It's still not one piece for other activities, but.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as the shoulder stays below my head, it's all good.
Okay. Are you suggesting that your rock climbing within a few weeks of the initial shoulder injury was maybe not the best move?
I'm not a medical professional, so I don't feel qualified to answer that question.
Okay. It is your shoulder, but anyway, we'll move on. All right. Well, yeah, we've got plenty to get through this week. We've got some new bikes spotted, more news out of the Big Wheel camp, and we've got a new gravel bike that sounds somewhat interesting. Of course, there's something on our mind that follows on suspiciously close to something we spoke about last week in relation to cleaning bikes, but this one is an interesting one related to some corrosion issues that we've been seeing out in the market. And of course, we have a PSA that I think we're going to manage to turn into a pick one. And then at the end of the episode, those on our member-only feed are actually going to hear a new voice. We've got a new mechanic guest starring this week. And so, yeah, I'll leave it till the end to introduce who that is. But before we get started, I think it's just worth reminding people that if you're not on our member feed, that means you're hearing this. And as a result, you won't get access to Ask a Wrench at the end of this episode, one of our more popular segments. You'll also hear a few adverts. So if you don't like ads and you do want the whole episode, then head to escapecollective.com/geek warning, become a member, and gain access to everything we do. All right. Suvi, Alex, let's get into it. We've got sightings of a new Trek XC bike spotted. Are we sure this is a Trek and not just one of a bike from any other brand that already has an XC bike?
It does look that way, doesn't it? You know, Trek is one of the few bike brands. I'd say that if you look at the Super Caliber or the Top Fuel, they are fairly recognisable. The Super Caliber's obviously got the semi-integrated shock in the top tube, and the Top Fuel's a classic Trek ABP 4-bar. But yeah, it looks like they've decided to get on the same horse as everyone else and just go for a bike that looks incredibly like the Specialized Epic.
Or the Cannondale Scalpel, or the new Giant Anthem, or really any other bike that's being, Orbea Ois, Santa Cruz Blur.
The Cube AMS.
Yeah, we can keep going. Basically any bike on the start line of a World Cup. But I think it's probably worth noting that, like, as we kind of see with designs in lightweight road bikes or even gravel bikes, how brands tend to converge on similar designs. I think there is generally a theme that engineers tend to figure out there's a better way to do something, and then they all sort of just end up following each other into that path. And I think in this case with cross-country bikes, we see this shock placement where the shock runs horizontal to the top tube. It's a very efficient design, but most importantly, allows space for 2 water bottles, which is a pretty key thing when it comes to like racing marathons. So it's not surprising that Trek has gone this path.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think also the Top Fuel in its current guise is probably still over biking for cross country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also the Super Caliber for a lot of courses is under biking. So I think just moving to this platform, it looks more to be in line with kind of what the rest of the field are running. And yeah, especially in cross-country World Cups where you have to use the same bike for short track as you do Olympic distance. I think this, from what I've seen in the pictures, it looks like a bike that better fits that bill than the current 2-bike strategy they have.
Yeah, 100%. And I think another brand to give an example of this would be Specialized. They had their Epic World Cup, which was arguably based on that Trek Super Caliber. It's a shorter travel, sort of 80, 90 mil travel full suspension, where almost like a soft tail in its design. And then they also have the longer travel regular Epic. And most of the time, most athletes sponsored by Specialized, we've been seeing pick that longer travel Epic bike over the shorter travel sort of, more limited Epic World Cup. So it makes sense that Trek is sort of, after all these years, moving to a platform that has the appropriate amount of travel for modern courses, dare I say.
I do wonder if also just, the Super Cal came out it was either 2019 or 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I do question whether kind of the uptake of Flight Attendant has just made that style of bike just less relevant. You know, having Flight Attendant on a standard Epic compared to the Epic World Cup, you're not really at a disadvantage on a short track now.
No, I can't remember who coined it, but the saying is that travel weighs nothing. In that once you've got suspension, adding more of it tends not to come with a significant weight increase. And so funnily enough, like in Specialized's range, the longer travel Epic frame is actually lighter than the shorter travel Epic World Cup. And I believe that, the Super Caliber from Trek, while at short travel, it wasn't actually the lightest frame on the circuit. It's actually one of the heavier ones. So I think adding travel here with a simpler system and a non-proprietary rear shock might give Trek a lighter weight product. And as you say, that Flight Attendant sort of controls and limits how much the suspension is moving under power. So, there's no need to have more limiting systems when you can kind of have it all now.
And also, I just want to shout out the pictures I've seen, the kind of spy shots are circulating. The purple that the bike's in is absolutely wonderful. I would happily ride that. Yeah,
it's definitely, plenty of teaser shots coming out, but that's the team's looking pretty good in its new kit. So as far as wheel sizes go, are we pretty confident this is 29-inch wheels we're seeing?
Yeah, definitely at the minute. The riders we've seen it on the most of the Trek team now, but Evie Richards has been spotted on it, and I think she's about 5'3", and it definitely doesn't look like she's got wagon wheels underneath her. So it doesn't mean that it's not a sign of things that might be on the horizon, but for now, this new platform still looks to be using 29ers.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty obvious once the likes of Evie Richards step over a 32-inch. We'll certainly see the top tube real low on that bike. But
would it be step over or would it be step in between?
Stand-in height, wouldn't it? Yeah. That probably brings us to the next topic, which is just 32-inch. We continually keep seeing hints and more development there, and I think this is absolutely the year of the 32-inch wheel. I think we're going to see it in both gravel racing and in cross-country racing. I don't think that's controversial to say at this point. I think this might even be the year that we see a 32-inch wheel win a World Cup, given all the brands that I keep hearing suggesting that they're racing towards wanting to be the first to do that. To add another name to the list of tires, we had Maxxis. We then saw Schwalbe at Velofollies, right, Suvi?
Yes.
Yeah. And now we're seeing Vittoria with the Peyote tire have teased that. Where are we seeing that? I know it's on the internet, but where has that been seen?
I think this has been at the Ice Bike show in the UK. Okay. So I did do a gallery from there last year. Yeah. And it's just like a dealer focused show. So media gets to attend as well. A very small scale distributor trade show.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what distributor is that related to?
Madison. Sorry, I should have said that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Stocks Vittoria, which obviously is the tire that is here. It was on their kind of house brand. Genesis is one of their bike brands that they stock. And it was on a prototype 32 gravel bike, which just kind of, even though it's a mountain bike tire, it was on a gravel bike. So it's also telling of what's to come from that side.
Big wheels becoming. This week we also saw Light Bicycle, the Chinese wheel company, mass production, really low cost wheel company. They have released some 32-inch wheels as well, some carbon hoops. That's following basically everyone else that makes wheels announcing 32-inch wheels, but a lot of them are like coming rather than like available to order. Like pretty much every brand has admitted that they're working on it, but it's strangely there's a lot of stuff that's yet to ship. So, it's not that strange given how few of these bikes are around, but these things are coming really, really quick. But for me, I guess I'm having a hard time sort of coming to terms with it, and that it's such a new tech. Everyone's rushing towards it. And I'm still seeing like a lot of chatter around even like what axle width we should be using for these things. It feels like maybe we're rushing into things a little bit.
I think especially because where we're going to see it first is cross country or gravel.
Mm-hmm.
I think if 32 is going to appear in enduro or downhill, questions around axle spacing is probably less of a concern. I don't think many people there would be that opposed to Super Boost just coming in and that being that.
Yeah, Super Boost being 157 width on the back.
Yeah. Whereas I think for gravel and cross country, where pedaling efficiency and Q factor and chainline all matter considerably, there is more of a debate around what axle spacing is going to be correct. Because obviously, a wider axle is going to give you a more stable wheel because the angle the spokes sit at relative to the rim will be increased. But it's that thing that we're seeing a lot in cycling in general, is it's just trying to package more into something the same size and get it to do something more. And it's something worth teasing, actually, is both with the tyre front and the wheel front, is I am talking with brands that are in the development phase to understand what these problems are and how they're overcoming them, because you don't get anything for nothing. There is a trade-off. If you go to Super Boost spacing, there's a trade-off there with chainline and Q factor. And if you keep it at standard boost spacing, there's the argument that a 32-inch wheel is going to be potentially significantly weaker than a 29-inch wheel just because of the added spoke length.
Yeah.
So, I am diving into that topic to try and understand how brands are overcoming it and see what challenges there are.
Yeah, I'd say this is something that we might come to in a future week to have as a dedicated topic. But I'd say the more I learn about 32-inch wheels and the design complexity around it and the new learnings around it, I think the more I'm starting to realize that as a tech editor that's been covering 29er wheels for 15 years now, I feel like I don't know anything now. Like, I feel like all of my learnings are sort of resetting. And everything I'd say I knew about, like, for example, my baseline geometry that I sort of look to a bike and go, I know exactly how that handles. And I can kind of imagine in my head how a millimeter here or there would feel. Honestly, I'm ignorant to looking at what to expect when the wheel's that big. So it's fun, but I'm also a little bit coming into this very much like, I think for the next few years, a really good 29er is probably still going to be the right bike for a lot of people. I'm coming in a little bit pessimistic that being the first person being first to buying one of these things is not going to get you burned in 2 or 3 years when they change standards.
Yeah, I'm also, maybe it's going out on a limb, but I would also say that it might not even just be for the next few years. I think the jump between 29 and 32, depending on what you ride and also your proportions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be getting excited about 32. I think 29 is probably your upper limit for wheel size anyway.
For me being a shorty.
I think you're the same height as me, aren't you?
Roughly. Yeah, I think I'm about 170 centimeters, 5'8".
Yeah.
5'8"-ish. Yeah. But I think it really depends on who you speak with. But yeah, a lot of I'd say the handmade builders are sort of saying I would be at the very lower limit of who they would make a 32-inch for. And even then, I'm sort of probably a little bit below it.
Yeah, and then obviously in general populations and in riding populations, you don't occupy the lower end. So there's a lot of people that are shorter than you. So I just don't think it's necessarily the same as when 29 came in, and we did manage to get pretty much everyone on a 29er without too many issues. I think the jump to 32 is significant enough that if you are, like you say, under that 170 threshold, don't hold your breath and go and get the 29er without any concerns over the future.
Suvi, as our shorter person correspondent, sorry,
my new title.
And you've been to these shows. You've probably stood next to some of these really big wheeled bikes. I mean, are you seeing a future where you might be able to fit on these, or are you just thinking it's really not for you?
I'm thinking it's really not for me, and especially off road. I mean, even with a 29 with a big tire, there's just compromises to toe overlap, and I'm not too keen on this. And but yeah, like you said, it's not for everyone. And part of me is a little maybe resentful, pessimistic about the industry's jump into this so quickly and just being like, oh, this is amazing, and then at the same time just ditching what I think is a considerable amount of people from their product lineup, like just not making it. Like 650B was just ditched and like, okay, this doesn't work, let's not do it. Is the same going to happen to 32, or is this because it can work for like the upper and maybe it does appeal for more people than 650B did. It's going to stick around. Just, I don't know. I'm not making it very clear point here, but I'm not too excited about this. And I think it's interesting that so many brands, they're really quick to highlight all the benefits that this does offer. But there's very little chat about what Alex was pointing out to, all these considerations, problems that come with the 32. Like even with the tires, I haven't really heard. Schwalbe gave a whole presentation about this, and we're like, we've pretty much said they think the 32-inch tires are better in every aspect.
Yeah,
there's performance benefits, but it's like, but how does it affect the construction? There was just no mention about that. Like surely there's some sort of compromise that you have to make when you scale it up.
Yeah, and the big compromise I think is, other than the fact that some people just are going to have too many geometry changes or compromises in order to fit it, I think the other big thing that sort of hasn't been mentioned here is just weight. And I think, at a very best scenario, some of the brands I heard, I think I heard some Ringley / Reynolds go on record to say like they're looking at a minimum of a 10% increase in wheel weight. And that's kind of assuming that you keep the rim profiles the same, which they say you can't do because you need to stiffen them up. Yeah, I think we're going to see bikes just get heavier. So dare I say the first batch of 32-inch mountain bikes that we see are probably going to be like 13.5, 14 kilos and $20,000 Australian, or 15,000 plus US is my guess. And of course these things trickle down and the weights come out, but yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of elements of this that is very exciting for a tech nerd, but at the same time I'm just like, oh, maybe let's just pump the brakes a little bit. So
it is very exciting for those who are taller and who could potentially be better served by this new wheel size. Like there's been for years and years, there's been a few smaller brands and obviously custom builders who've been doing this, which I find also another industry thing to witness that I've not ever got to witness before, where there's the trendsetters, almost like the people who get forgotten, who've been doing this for years and years, and then big brands come in and they're like, we're doing this now, and everyone's like, oh wow, this new thing. And those people who've been doing this for 10 years are like, oh well.
Yeah.
I was doing this years ago already.
Yeah, and there were there have been a few players that have been using 32-inch wheels in custom bikes. Like Leonard Zinn is one, because the 32-inch wheel did exist as a unicycle standard before this. But I think what we're seeing is like all these brands not wanting to miss out on this trend and miss out on this new thing again, which is why when 29-inch wheels were released and Gary Fisher was selling them and it was a big thing back then, a lot of brands sort of missed the boat a little bit and they missed the trend. And I say a lot of brands are not taking that risk this time. And so everyone's racing to be first. And as a result, it just feels like everyone is trying to have this big wheel thing. And it's just all too much too soon is sort of how I'm feeling about it. But that said, I am going to be leaving soon. I'm going to start my own company of, I'm going to start a company of stools to help mount onto your 32-inch wheel bike. For anyone that's like 5'10" and under, I'm gonna sell like bike mounting stools that you can have in your garage and step onto to in order to start your ride.
It's the same as for horses. A little punt up to get
Exactly
on your bike.
Yeah, good tip. I'll have to check out the horse merchandise. I'll see if I can just rebrand some. That saves me a lot of design work. Anyway, all right, let's get onto a bike that you can currently buy. Suvi, from short person correspondent to Basso correspondent, what does Basso have that's new?
They have a new Palta gravel bike,
okay.
Which might come as a surprise that it is new and it's only launched now because the brand has been teasing it for probably a good part of 2 months. There's been a banner on Basso's website saying exactly when this new Palta 3rd generation bike is going to land.
Yep.
So yeah, it's no surprise to many people that it is coming. But yeah, it's 3rd generation of that bike. And I found it quite interesting going through the white paper is that there were lots of similarities to the SV, which is a bike that many who listen to this podcast know that I have ridden. So it's the kind of racier road bike from Basso that was launched now. It was in 2024, end of 2024. Yeah. And the Palta is, it says in the white paper, is drawing inspiration from the SV's Sempre Veloce philosophy, which kind of explains a lot of the updates that they've done to it. It's got some more aero shapes, more stiffness on head to bottom bracket, shaved some weight. It's got new cockpit options. It's actually offering the 37 wide one-piece cockpit that came as a new part for the SV. There's down tube storage because that is what everyone wants nowadays, with a fit lock opening system.
Oh, interesting.
Have either of you used that, the fit lock?
No,
system?
I mean, I've used Fidlock bottles and similar, but I've never used it in a down tube storage.
Yeah. 3T has the same, and I believe, I'd like to say Sika has Seka. They use that on their gravel bike as well, and it's quite a neat little system. Tire clearance is bigger. It's 50, 52 now, up from 45, which I think was quite conservative. I heard people could fit wider, but that's with every gravel bike. People fit wider tires and brands say.
And there's a note here about them gluing shoes onto the down tube.
Yes, a very important detail. It's got a little rock bash guard on the down tube, and it's made by Vibram or Vibram. I don't know which way you would say it in English.
I'll go Vibram.
Vibram. You both say differently. Okay. Anyway, but the one that you would see at the sole of your shoes, now they make shoe soles. That's my association with the brand. So they've partnered. Basso has partnered with them to make that guard.
I understand the purpose of a bash guard, and it's nice to have like that sort of rock protection on a down tube, on a delicate down tube. But why do you need one with like wet traction on it?
No idea. You end up sliding down a hill on your down tube somehow.
It definitely has advantages for trails riding.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, maybe when you're carrying the bike, like where you can sometimes hold a bike by the down tube when you're sort of shouldering a bike. Maybe that's what it is for.
Yeah. I don't quite get why it would need to be made by, like, yeah.
It's a good way to undo all the high modulus carbon fiber weight savings. So it's just add 100 grams plus back in a rubber protector. But anyway, we'll call it a rubber boot. There we go.
That's what it is. But yeah, not much more to say about that.
All right, so before we move on from this one, looking at the geometry chart, am I right in thinking they're quite short?
Yes, they are. I always look at, I think we all do, we look at the bike size that we ride, and I was surprised to see the extra small, the smallest size of the 6. It has a reach of 354, which I didn't run all the numbers and compare it to loads of different brands, but it is a pretty short bike for a modern gravel bike, because the trend is increasingly that it would be a longer reach, but then you would pair it with a shorter stem. And it does seem like Basso is not maybe going that way with this one.
No, dare I say, just looking at the wheelbases on these things, 50mm tire on a bike smaller than a large, probably going to have toe overlap. So that's fine for some bikes. Race bikes, it's kind of expected, but certainly applies here. Anyway, should we move on to something that's on our mind this week? Let's get into it. Before we do, let's take a quick break. All right, so last week's episode, we spoke about apartment dwelling, bike washing, and you riding with your own hose pipe to public parks to wash your bike in public. From that, on I guess off mic, we started talking about rusty chains and how you had embarrassingly let the chain of an Ultegra level 12-speed chain become disgustingly rusted, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's an issue. That's like a problem." And I don't think everyone knew that. So it was figured let's make a topic out of it. Let's discuss it. What happened?
Well, the right way to present this is that I did a scientific experiment. So
yes,
I left 2 bikes on one.
Everyone forget everything I just said. This is a specific. Yes, this is all in the name of science.
Yeah.
It was a controlled test. Yes.
100%. So over the winter period, I did, because I have 2 different bikes. I have a Shimano. It's actually 105 chain on this bike.
Okay.
105 group set. And then I have a SRAM bike. I was trying to do the Festive 500 to give you the whole backstory. And there were days when I left the bike and washed, and then the next day swapped to another bike because it was clean. And then when the day came when I wanted to wash both of these said bikes, I noticed that the Shimano chain had gone completely black. It was a wax chain, so I had stripped it completely before waxing it, obviously. And the SRAM chain on the other bike had gone through the same treatment. They'd been waxed at the same time, ridden about the same distance in the same conditions. And I thought, but I've had rusty chains before, and you leave your bike for a day or whatever, and you can it's surface rust, you can just scrub it off. But this one just did not come off. It was just, the plates were like corroded, kind of just gone like rusty, like through. And I thought this was just because there was a lot of road grit and salt on the roads. But then I moved on to clean this RAM bike, and which had, like I said, as close to similar conditions, similar treatment, and the rust just came off that it had. So I was just like, what is going on here? It just didn't really make sense. I did Google this a lot, and I did find that mountain bike chains, like there were certain mountain bike forums that were talking about this issue, but it wasn't really conclusive. I thought it was just because of the salt, and I had left it for too long.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things. I haven't seen any like really controlled tests on this. I would say anecdotally, I've seen it enough over the years, and these Shimano 12-speed chains have been on the market for about 8 years now. Maybe a little bit less for some of the lower end ones, but yeah, they came out with the mountain bike 12-speed, and now those chains are repurposed on the road and on gravel. GRX group sets that are using 12-speed. And what I've seen time and time again is that Shimano chains of the 12-speed variants are more susceptible to surface rust than the chains that came before them versus the 10 and 11-speed chains. And more specifically than that, it's only the lower end 12-speed chains. And unfortunately, it's kind of everything up until the Ultegra level. Even the Ultegra level, I've seen what I would call sort of like overly sensitive issues where like the chain wasn't immediately washed, and then the next day it had rust spots all over it, to a point where I wouldn't expect that of a modern coated chain. And so yeah, I think it is a thing with Shimano 12-speed chains, and I think the solution to it that I've seen is just get the XTR/Durace chain, which has the more sophisticated coatings on it, and that seems to keep the rust at bay far more. But everything below that tends to get, like, at best very easily suffers from like corrosion spotting or surface rust, and at worst, as you found, Suvi, like to the point where it's just basically just should bin the chain, like it's structurally affected. So yeah, it's a specific one to Shimano. I can't say I'm seeing this issue with other brands of chains. It's an odd one. So yeah, I'm not even sure why, and like why the 11-speed chains seem to be so much better at preventing this versus the 12-speed. But clearly, there's a difference in coatings or materials used. Alex, you've obviously ridden Shimano 12-speed products over the years, and it's been out for quite a while at this point. Have you experienced this at all, like unusual levels or unexpected levels of surface spots on the chains?
Anecdotally, yes. So I for a while when I was guiding, I lived in a house of mountain bikers. And it's kind of the same as what you've described, Suvi, is like especially in the winter when we get back from a ride and we didn't want to clean our bikes, we'd just throw them in the conservatory and then deal with that the next day. And yeah, those who were kind of like running GX or XO were kind of fine to go, whereas like there were multiple occasions where there was visible rust on XT or Dior bikes in the house. So there's definitely a visible difference. Like at the time, we didn't really put too much thought into it, but there was a visible difference for riding in the same conditions.
So yeah, so I guess just to repeat, like for me, the recommendation, if you've got Shimano 12-speed, the recommendation is spend the extra. It's not a big expense, but get that Durace/XTR chain. It also shifts a bit nicer. It's also technically stronger with the hollow pins are actually add sort of a stage to the riveting, so they are technically stronger. But yeah, I think it's worth the extra money just for the corrosion resistance. The other side of this is that I guess the downside to wax is that it does leave these plates more susceptible to corrosion. And so wax in the rain has all the benefits, but I guess, yeah, it's one you kind of need to watch more carefully and not just leave wet. So yeah, I mean, what's your process there, Suvi?
I have given up, and I know we talked about waxing last week as well in terms of apartment dwelling, but specifically for this, for example, it is not my own bike. I have just now, when I got a new chain for it, I'm just using oil, so chain oil instead of waxing it until I get over the gritted, salty roads, because I do think that's harsh for any chain, regardless. It just, you wouldn't soak your chain in a salty water and expect that it's going to come out fine. Some of them do, but just, I think for the next month or so, I'm just going to stick with the oil because it does seem to protect it a little bit better. But overall, I think it's just drying in the wet conditions, just drying the chain as best as you can right after the ride. So having some sort of rag, or you talked about the
little pressure blower thing.
Yeah, last week. So yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's the struggle with the wax, right? Is you just really have to, after the ride, if you're hot melt waxing, you kind of have to take that chain off if you've just been riding through wet and treat it immediately, or dry it and then apply like a drip wax over the top effectively, immediately, and not leave that chain exposed. Whereas if you are using like a wet oil, then you can kind of be a bit more neglectful. You can kind of go inside and get warm and forget about the bike until you really have to wash it. So yeah, different approaches, but anyway, I think it's one. And I think if you've got Shimano chains and you've experienced the same, or if you've done a test on this and you've kind of proven that this is a thing, please email us at tech@escape.com and let us know. All right, let's get on to a PSA, but first, a quick little break. This week, this PSA comes from one of our listeners, Allison out of Longmont, Colorado, called in with this. So let's hear it.
I was trying to figure out if I could use Dynaplugs in a convenient way with my 1UP EDC tool. Turns out the answer is yes. The EDC tool has a little threaded tire plugger that you can use with just normal bacon strips. It turns out the threads on that tire plugger are the same threads used by Dynaplug in their single-ended insertion tubes that they sell bundled with the Dynaplug pill. You can just screw in one of those little insertion tubes into the end of your EDC tool and plug your punctures that way, and just drop a couple extra tubes in the storage capsule. It's really interesting to me. Just works. Pretty cool.
All right, this is kind of a fun one, a little lesser known tip, but the idea is that, Dynaplugs have these sort of steel inserts that hold the tire plug, the tubeless tire plug, in place. And if you unscrew those, you can then screw that little plug holding insertion tube straight into the bottom of your 1UP EDC tool. So yeah, for those having no idea what we're talking about, the 1UP EDC tool is this really cool little like modular folding multi-tool that's designed to fit into the top of metal steerer tubes, or it can also be stashed inside of 1UP's own really good mini pump. So it's become quite popular, and in mountain bike circles, it's incredibly popular and seen everywhere. And it's also somewhat popular in the gravel world, where people use these mini pumps. In the road, you don't really see this brand too much. But speaking of tire plugging, let's chat about it. Let's have a pick one. Suvi, what are you carrying with you for when you're riding a bike that's tubeless?
I would carry the Dynaplug. I've got the Racer. I think that is the model name. So the traditional two-sided creation. I've got a couple of those that I keep losing. And yeah, that's what I carry. But then I think we have talked about this before, because I feel like I've mentioned the WTB Rocket kit. It's a little bit similar. So it's got the more traditional bacon strip, the strips, and then the kind of metal head separately, and then you're still kind of plugging it in the same. It's a little bit similar to what the Dynaplug does, and I do find that it's worked well. But I have been really lucky in the last couple of years. I've had so few punctures that I haven't really had to use either or.
Ah, lucky you. The WTB kit's interesting. I think they license it from a brand called Clever Standard, who also sells something similar. So, and that brand's probably best known for like their tyre lever that doubles as a phone holding selfie stick, which when I say best known, I think there's probably 3 people that know of that product. But
well, now there's 3.
yeah. Mine sits in a drawer, never used. But anyway, they do some neat products. They also do a really cool like little barrel-shaped chain breaker, that company, which is like a little portable chain breaker.
How would you record your puncture repairs?
How would you record your
puncture? Also your tyre lever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think you need a plug kit that doubles as a selfie stick as well. And so you can...
There we go.
Yeah, you can set your phone up on your plug kit while you undo your tyre and then swap your selfie sticks, your phone tripod.
Alongside 32-inch stools to get on bikes, you found another niche that you can expand into.
There you go. I'm going to retire early with all of these ideas. It's it's been nice knowing y'all. But Alex, what's your approach to tubeless plugin?
I mean, for like everyday riding, I'm very much the same as Suvi. Just like for Dynaplug racers, just it's such a convenient tool, size-wise, and also, you know, they just fit in a pocket, or you can put them in a frame storage or whatever. But actually, when I was coaching and guiding, I preferred to use it's like for really basic muck-off tubeless tool, but just because it's like a T-handle. And it just meant that, like, if I was in a rush or if we ran into a bit more of a problem, it was an easier tool to handle than quite a slender cylinder. It just gave a better grip. And yeah, I just found that one quite nice to use out in the field.
How much of that decision is based on Dynaplug's actual individual plugs costing a few quid each?
It definitely factors.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you think guides get paid, but it's not a lot.
No, I'm just thinking, if someone had a double puncture and you were to use your Dynaplug, I mean, you're probably working for charity for an hour or two at that point.
Yeah, you could probably use like the whole packet of those strips with the muck-up tool before it's gonna add up to the cost. But I find I've got the muck-up tool, and because it's got the fork, it's like 2-prong thing. Did you ever have it? Because it pulls the plug out. It's hard to
I've never had that.
let the plug actually stay in. It just, you plug it in, but then once you're pulling the tool out, it kind of pulls the plug out, and you have to actually do multiple ones. Because there's a brand, Dave might know this one. It's definitely, I don't think it's a niche one, but I remember the developed one that has like a half of the other prong, so it's like the same kind of fork shape, but one of them is shorter, so then it doesn't kind of grab the plug when you're pulling the tool out.
It's not Rider, is it?
I don't.
The slug plug, or maybe was it the one that went in the handlebar? The Samurai. That one rings a bell as well. Anyway, there's a lot of them,
but they are there's loads.
Yeah, but I think
I'd definitely say the muck-off one is like, it's to go in bags. I don't know if either of you have handled it, but like, it does not feel safe to have in a pocket at all. It's basically just a knife.
Yeah, right.
It comes with a little pouch though, like with a...
Oh, I'm sure that would do. Yeah, I'm not in a mountain bike crash. I'm not sure the little pouch would give me any confidence it's not going into my femur.
Yeah. By comparison, the Dynaplug's just a little like EpiPen, so it's
exactly,
it's quite nice. But yeah, I think the other thing, just I guess word of caution, is that like the cheaper plugs, they're all like what we call bacon strips, where they're just like a little gummy rubber piece that you stick in with a fork like prong. They tend to, because they're just a simple rubber strip, they tend to be able to like wiggle themselves back out of the tire under pressure, is what I've found. And so like the Dynaplug actually has like this actual barb on it that holds it in place, where it's like you shove the thick end first, and the rubber is actually like a smaller diameter versus the piece that goes in first. And I find that actually helps the plug stay in more effectively. Whereas, I guess you just have to be a bit more careful with those bacon strips if you're patching like a tubeless road tire. Just food for thought there. That's probably less reliable. Yeah.
Yeah, the WTB one, that's the benefit of it as well, that it has those individual heads that kind of keep it in.
The little bullet that stays there. So
and then they rattle nicely inside your tire. And then you know that your sealant's run out, because nothing should be probably rattling out.
It's all a well-designed system in that regard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, this should be no surprise to anyone, but I'm a huge Dynaplug fan, have been for many, many years. And I either carry the Racer, like the both of you, or more recently, I've bought myself quite a few of the Racer Pro, which is their newer version. It basically just doubles the number of plugs in the tool without adding significant size or weight to the tool. Adds a little bit to the cost though, but that's sort of for me the benchmark tool. But yes, the replacement plugs are quite expensive, so that is the downside to the Dynaplug system. But worth it, assuming you're not puncturing every ride. And if you are puncturing every ride, probably change your tires. So anyway, do you carry anything else on your rides as far as like obviously you need something to inflate with, and you've got your tubeless plugs. Are you carrying sealant? Either of you carry like a little bottle of sealant?
The answer is very much dependent on if I'm riding on my own. No, I'll just deal with the consequences. If I'm taking people out into the mountains, then yes. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I would carry sealant as well if I'm going for like a long off-road, like overnight backpacking thing.
Same.
Or on a trip potentially, but as well. But I wouldn't carry it on the rides necessarily at all times.
Yeah, no, short rides I leave that at home. And what about are you TPU tubes as a spare or just regular inner tubes?
TPU for myself, and then standard ones once again if I'm guiding.
Ain't no way that customer's getting that TPU tube.
Hell no.
It is a tough one. Yeah, I've got TPU tubes as well.
Yeah, okay.
It's been like, have you when you pass people who need help and then they're literally like, you kind of need to give them a tube. And it has become, since I've definitely like regular butyl tubes, I have given them out to people especially if I've had to been like, like just get you home from here. It's like, I'll give you my tube. But now, genuinely, when I got my first Tubelito years ago, it was like 25 quid a pop. Like, no, you're not getting my tube. Like, I can watch here and help you pump up the tire or whatever, but I don't know if I would give you my tube.
A tube so expensive you've stopped offering help.
Yeah.
You just need to get one of those pocket contactless readers. Just charge them over the side of the road and off you go.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then you'll have the whole complaint. You're in the middle of in a rainy day, in the middle of the trail, offering someone help, and they're arguing about the price of your inner tube.
What do you have, Dave?
Yeah, I'm basically the same as all of you. Like I have TPU tubes on most of my bikes, but I don't know. I think I've developed trust issues, if I'm being honest. Every time I've had to use one, I've like fingers crossed that it's actually still okay and that the seams haven't perished. So yeah, I've got them carefully wrapped in plastic bags or similar. And I definitely try to take care of them, but I don't know. I think increasingly so I'm finding myself reverting back to like lightweight butyl tubes as spares where I remember to do it. Just I trust them all. So it's kind of sad to admit that, but I've seen a few too many of the TPU tubes leak after a few years.
There's so many now of them, like cheap versions, expensive versions. It's like you just really don't know what you're getting.
No.
And differing valve systems and
And dare I say, like even the most expensive versions, the ones that make the biggest of claims, from what I've seen, also don't have a 100% perfect track record. They probably have a better track record, but still hearing of failures. So yeah, anyway. No, well, good. Nice thing that we still have options. All right. Well, that feels like a pretty good place to wrap things up for this week. Suvi, Alex, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
Before you go, what work of yours will people find on Escape Collective?
Well, following on from the start of the conversation when we were talking about mountain biking, I've got an interesting piece looking into how World Cup teams actually operate, which is insightful and very different to how, if you think you know how a road team works, this is not the same. So it's definitely worth a read just to find out how that side of the sport works. And also, it's been spoken about for a while, but the Van Rysel RCRF review is going live this week. So if you want to find out more about that bike, what it is and what it isn't, head over to Escape and there's a full in-depth review of my thoughts.
We are almost publishing a bike review a week at this point, which just feels like fantasy land for us. But anyway, it's may it last. So no, nice. It's good to see that one live. So yeah, check it out. And Suvi, what about you?
Well, I've been working on, I've got some industry stories coming up this week, hopefully. Maybe 1, 2, potentially. Working on some bike reviews as well. Yeah,
a little shout out for you and your industry reporting. A lot of exclusives as of late on Escape. So yeah, definitely check that out. And for me, shameless plug, Threaded is back. I hadn't had one for a few weeks. This time I'm revisiting a topic I hadn't covered for quite a few years. I hadn't covered at Escape at least, which is correct usage of torque wrenches and things that people commonly miss when using torque wrenches. And for that, I actually managed to do a bonus episode of Geek Warning where I sat down with an actual rocket scientist, someone who is an engineer with at NASA has used torque wrenches in that capacity. So yeah, proper geeky chat, but hopefully a useful one as well. So, all right. Plenty to check out over on the site. And yeah, for members of Escape Collective, you get access to all of that, plus Ask a Wrench that's coming up now. All right. Thanks, everyone.